Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes for those keeping count. This is episode 353, and my next guest started this whole thing off in episode 1, and then he came back for episode 49, but that was like 6 years ago. So we're bringing back Adam Homey, and we're going to talk about bullshit scams. And I know you're going, what? You can't talk about bullshit scams. Oh, we're going to talk about it. So welcome, Adam. And you know what got this all started was these stupid authenticator apps.
Yeah.
And it's, that is bullshit because every day I got to pick up my phone at least 20 to 30 times a day to put in some stupid code so I can get on a website or bank or something. And it's like, this is just slowing me down.
Slowing you down. First of all, I want to make a point here and this is the power of podcasting, whether you're a host or you're the guest, is I hear all the time, whether in my direct messages, seeing threads, hang on. There are a few, okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah, actually my cat Princess Alessandra knocked things out of the way here, and it's just the way it is sometimes. So anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. I keep hearing in my direct messages, I keep seeing discussion threads, I keep hearing conversations about how this whole thing with multi-factor authentication has gotten out of hand. Hey, look, I get it. Hackers, scammers, wanting to make sure the right people are logging in. I mean, here in Las Vegas, I think it was last year, one of our casinos got taken off for millions of dollars because somebody made a phone call saying they were from executive management and authorized a transaction, and nobody thought to call back and just make sure it was the same guy. I get it. But when to log into, and you know what, I'm going to call out, is it okay if I call out a few company names here and there? Because there are a few offenders. A company I otherwise actually love, Amazon Web Services. They have great products and great services, but their authentication has gotten out of hand. First of all, you have to enter the username, which is usually the email address associated with the account. So you enter that. Then it takes you to a CAPTCHA, and then the first 3 don't work. And I think they do that on purpose. Then after you do that, if it's a new account, it'll take you to your password. You'll enter the password. And usually at that point, it'll send you a code by email you have to enter. Now, once your account is X number of days old, I think it's 90 days or something, I don't know exactly, then they tell you have to enter another form of authentication. They give you 3 different options, all of which are a disaster to set up. The one that I use is called Google Authenticator. And I have a whole bunch of our production company's clients that every 30 seconds it refreshes their code. So as soon as you enter that password, you have to immediately go to the app and find whatever the code is and hope you can enter it in time before it refreshes. And then hope that it doesn't make you wait until the next code. This is also if I were the producer of E-Heroes, I could upload the audio of this file so it could go to Spotify. That's what we have to go through. And I can't even delegate this. I mean, I have people who work for the company in Paraguay, and they have to contact me to get them in because it's on my phone. And then, although they can do a lot of things using their own computers, they have to go to PC into mine just so they can access my login.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, do you mean to tell me? Because I'm willing to bet you that Amazon as a company uses AWS for its own web services.
Well, Amazon.
Do they personally have Jeff Bezos get his personal cell phone to retrieve a code when they need to log in?
Yeah, well, Amazon bought KDP, a while back. And what I don't like about KDP is you can't have multiple users, multiple admins on an account. So when I create accounts for my clients, they usually say, "Rob, you be the admin." Okay, fine. But then when they want to, sign in to order books, guess who gets the code? Me.
You do.
And I gotta text them the code.
Yeah, and where this comes in is you have some companies that will have you enter a code or have you say yes on an app on a notification on your phone or something, and it's good for X number of days, and then it just randomly expires at the worst time. Like with our production company, we've had to set a protocol that I don't care what rush job you're trying to do to accommodate a client or which one of our podcast hosts that works with us to produce our episodes just interviewed this great person. They want to get the interview out right away. There is no such thing as the day before work. We now do the day before the day before. That's our the day before because of how many times we've been caught up, challenged to deliver because, like normal entrepreneurs, whoever was on the case was working on this at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it picks them to say, "Oh, we need you to enter a code."
Mhm.
And so then we have to track down the clients, and and a couple of our clients, and they're real cool about this, and they also appreciate that they're paying us, so they don't have to do all this stuff. Uh, One of them said, why can't you guys fix this? And I said to her, you know, I would love to fix this. In fact, I'd like to launch a class action lawsuit and have you join me because you've already authenticated us 10 times. You shouldn't have to keep doing this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my credit union just switched over their apps, and, so they sent out an email, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I will sign in." I sign in. My username works, but my password no longer works.
Uh
So
huh.
they sent out a new password so I can reset it. It lets me in, but then it says, "Okay, this app is no longer it doesn't work with my iPhone."
Uh huh.
I'm like, so I email them back. "Oh, yeah, yeah, we haven't gotten the go ahead from Apple yet." Really? Why don't you release this stuff altogether? Half the
Yeah.
population uses an
Uh huh.
iPhone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Oh, and so what I love is some companies just expire out the password.
yeah.
But then they just automatically also expire out the ability to use the link that they provide to reset the password because they want you to call them so they can take up your time. Like anybody has time for this stuff. And I think part of it is they want to get you on the phone in hopes they can sell you. And as I've explained to companies before, me complaining is not a sales opportunity for you. Me telling you I'm frustrated and annoyed with you is not an opening for you to say, "Hey, give us more business." I mean, the way you act now could influence my positive decision to give you more business later if I feel you're really taking care of me, but this is not the time to hit me up.
Well, and then they tell me, "Well, delete the app and reinstall it."
Uh-huh.
Okay, I do that. Still doesn't work. I'm
Right.
like, "Screw this." The app's coming off my phone, and I type in the website, and it works perfectly.
Uh-huh.
Then it must be your app. Your app is shit. I'm not using
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And they're telling
Yeah.
everybody, "Well, you have to use the app because the website's not secure." What?
Uh-huh.
And then it asks me for, and sends me a text. I answer the text. Then I have to use the authenticator thing, and then I'm like, why don't you just do a redness scan?
Right, right. Yeah. In the early days of being able to use our banking apps to deposit checks, the app that I use for my business checking to deposit checks would not read the checks. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So I contacted them and they said, now I use Android devices, and they said, oh well, the one for the Android device isn't perfect yet. We're still working on it. And I said, well, that doesn't help me now, and I'm not going to get an iPhone, and where I live, you don't have any local branches. So what do I do? Uh, and the next thing the guy said is like, well, the app is working. It's like I'm calling you to tell you the app is not working because it's working. This is almost as funny as that one time I was at my client's seminar about 15 years ago, and he was in the room that he reserved for the seminar. The lights weren't working, and he was having it filmed because he was making a product out of it, and therefore they couldn't get good footage. And he called maintenance up, and they were flicking the switches and trying to get the lights to work. And the person in the hotel flicked the switch up, and she said, "Well, the light is on." And he said, "Oh, the light's on. I can't see through the darkness that the light is on." And then he went over and started flicking the switch. Like, look at this. I'm flicking the switch. It's not getting lighter or darker. Is the light on? My videographer is having a hard time getting footage of this event that all these people in this room have paid to get access to, and then I plan to sell 500 more copies of. Are the lights on? That window over there, there's more light coming in through that window. It's coming in through that light that's not working. Are the lights on? Am I making my case? And I want to say things like this to these companies. Like, I mean, again, I get security. And another thing I understand is that some companies will want to have basic and advanced packages because they want to bifurcate between the individual user and the team user. So they'll do things like for the advanced package or the premium level package, you can have up to 5 different users. I get that.
Mhm.
But in many cases, companies don't need the other 19 features. It's 3 times the price. They just need this package, but they just need 2 people to log into it. Now, if you can set up an email forwarding alias so that any codes can be distributed through email, and then just control who has access to the alias. So if that team member quits or you fire them, you just take them off the alias. I've had cybersecurity experts, actual cybersecurity experts, tell me that's acceptable. But then I've had the companies themselves saying, "Don't let us catch you doing this." Like, yeah, catch me if you can.
Yeah, and I understand. When I was over in Europe in October, we went to France for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
They don't even text you. You have to have. They say most people when they do the whole authentication thing, it has to be an email because
right,
text is not reliable.
right,
Okay, well, here's the thing: is that it's easy to get a text on my phone, especially when I'm trying to work on my phone. But to switch the app and then go back and forth to my email, pain in the ass. And a lot of times it goes into junk because Google determines what's relevant and what's not.
right. Oh yeah, and then they send you, and then they email you a code that's good for 10 minutes, and it takes 9 minutes for it to get there, due to how long it takes their systems SMTP to send it out.
Yeah, yeah. And then it times out. That start
And
the
then
whole
and then
thing
and then
over.
meanwhile and then meanwhile, you're not logging in because you're bored and you're trying to pass the time. It's because you got something you want to get done.
Yeah.
That's now 10 minutes of you being stymied.
Well, and Facebook's the same way. I mean, and
Hmm.
because I was overseas, it says it looks like you're dialing in or you're signing in from a location that we don't know. Is
Yeah.
this you?
I get that. They want to make sure that you're not getting scammed, because that has actually happened to clients of mine where they've gotten their accounts hacked from overseas and things like that. So if all of a sudden they expect you to be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but they're getting logins from Rome, Italy, they want to make sure Rob's actually in Rome. I get that, but that too sometimes gets out of hand.
Right. And with VPNs now, you can basically and I have a on all the websites, I have a program that tracks all the IPs of incoming
Hmm.
people.
Right.
And it also tells me who tries to log in. And granted, there are programs out there that'll sniff out your username, but I can see who's coming and going. So
Right.
scammers aren't getting through. But it's funny when they try to use my name or use
Hmm.
the password that they think is going to work and
Yeah.
not letting them in. And I think that every company out there should have some type of way to track their IPs, track their visitors.
Yeah.
But most don't.
Yeah. As I said, I get it with hackers and scammers. I get reasonable security protocols, but it gets to the point where we're spending literally hours a day just hours a day jumping through all these hoops to log into our own accounts,
Mhm.
our teams that we hire, or if we are the team, the person who hires us has to basically be on call 24/7 in case any of this stuff comes up. I
Oh,
mean,
and you know, and
it's
and
just out of hand.
You know, I am totally against scammers. I mean, I even wrote a
Yeah.
book about it called Rob versus the Scammers, and
Yeah.
and it's my sarcastic take on dealing with these assholes. Here's the
Uh-huh.
problem, though, is that legitimate companies are spending gobs of time trying to trying to get into accounts that they own anyway.
Right, right. Yeah, I predict that at some point we're going to have a consumer revolt on this.
Mhm.
And all these companies that make us jump through these ridiculous hoops are going to lose market share to competitors who do the stuff that they do, either almost as good or just slightly better. but they're going to have reasonable security protocols. Like they may do the thing of, I can't remember the technical name for it, but it's a thing where instead of using a password, you just enter a code.
Yeah.
They're going to be the ones, like StreamYard, for example, is an example company that does this. If you use StreamYard, you don't have a password. You have a username, and then it sends you a code. And then that code holds, as long as you stay within the same cookie session on your browser, I think it stays for a month or something like that.
Mhm.
To me, that's actually reasonable. As long as they efficiently deliver the code. Like, I'm not waiting 20 minutes for the code. It's like, I want to log into my StreamYard account. I want that code in 30 seconds. They're pretty
Yeah.
good at that.
Yeah. And but it's not just SaaS companies.
No.
It goes into our grocery stores too.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The checkout, self checkout is a nightmare.
Uh huh. Well, that's part of the reason we're talking here. So you go to this grocery store. Now, the original purpose of self checkout was for the person who just runs in there to buy a box of crackers because they want to have soup tonight, and they thought, you know what? At the last minute, I think I actually need some crackers, or they're getting ready to prepare their recipe, and they, oh my goodness, I'm out of olive oil. I can't make my recipe without it. Run in, grab the olive oil, grab the crackers, get out. That's what
Mhm.
that was for. But then, because they won't open any checkout lines, you have people who have their usual 100 items that don't even have a shelf to put it on, and they have to take it out of the buggy or the shopping cart, scan it, and then put it back in and do it one bag at a time. And then over and over again, the little security thing keeps beeping saying, we suspect theft.
Yeah, because you didn't put it on their little counter that's not even big enough for eggs.
Or you did put it on your counter and it's too dumb to feel it.
Yeah.
And this happened to me the other day with I bought some containers of cat food for our podcast producers, and I scanned it as usual. I dropped it in there. I even heard the thud because I didn't just lay it down gently. I didn't slam it either, but I put it at the top of the bag and let it fall so they would make enough of an impact. Their little sensor would pick it up. Then next thing I see the siren and the lights going and the big red alerts. Like, okay, so you're going to embarrass me on top of everything for after falsely accusing me of stealing? And one of the 5 people they pay to just stand around to monitor the 6 checkout kiosks comes over, and after hearing my thoughts on this and then watching the security footage and then clearing it and saying, yeah, that was legit. Yes, he got the cat food. Said, if you don't like the self checkout, you can always use a regular checkout lane. And I looked over, I said, they're all closed. You have 8 of them and they're all closed. They're always closed. You got 5 people standing around watching these 6 kiosks. If 2 of you would go over and open checkout lines, you wouldn't have these problems.
Right, and you
It
have
do-
to
it it,
scan
it,
it.
it doesn't it doesn't take 4 people to watch 6 kiosk lines, even especially when you have these security sensors that are going to humiliate people over false positives. You don't
Uh,
need 4 people to monitor that.
right, and then you're behind someone and they're scanning so slow. So by the time you
Hmm.
get there, you wanna scan fast because you wanna get out there, but the machine's
Hey,
not geared for that.
I got my crackers
So
for my soup. I got my olive oil for my Thai pineapple vegetable fried rice recipe. I'm ready to walk up there. Out.
yeah, yeah, it just where I live, all the cashiers go away at or go home at 8 p.m., so all their
Yeah.
aisles shut down, and it's like, I don't even wanna go to the grocery store after 8 o'clock because I have to do self-checkout, and
Uh huh.
so if I have to do it, I'm gonna make sure that the machine throws an error so I get this guy to come over
Yeah.
and he can scan the shit because I ain't doing it.
Oh, I love that, and I think it's part of the consumer revolt. Last year, like when you own a house or you have an apartment, every so often you got to buy a mop. So I went to Walmart and I bought a mop. And I went through self checkout on it because it's a damn mop. Hold it up, scan the barcode, put it in the bag, get out. So there's 3 people walking in front of me who bought like a little bit of groceries or a couple electronics. And this line's walking. They all walk by with their bags and they were all in self checkout too. And then I come by with my mop and then I hear coming from the right, sir. And I just said no and kept walking.
Yeah,
because
the
what was
Walmart
happening,
Gestapo
because
tries to
yeah, because what was happening is I guess
check your
he thought he
receipt.
was going to check my receipt. Now he was wise enough to just back off, because my first question to him was going to be, uh, can you get my paycheck for me right now? Because I already did your job scanning it. That was question number one. And question number two is, I'm carrying a damn mop, and you had these three other customers in front of me who you didn't think to check, who had all their stuff in bags that you couldn't see. You can see
Yeah.
my mop.
Well, down in Florida, we were there last year when we stopped at
Mhm.
Walmart, and coming out, they have armed guards
I
checking
believe it.
receipts. I'm thinking, armed guards? Are you going to shoot me overnight check?
Well, Rob, I have a wild idea for you. What if instead of paying the armed guards, they paid people to work the checkout lines, that they're always unmanned, and then they have a human being doing checks as they go along, so that what goes in the bags and what gets charged for is going to be accurate, because a human being working for the store did that verification process just by checking it out. I know it's crazy towns. I get it. Self checkout. I think it has its benefits. If you're just there for two items, you don't want to stand behind five people who are doing their weekly grocery shopping, and that's stupid. And under Q theory, the management wants to get you out, because that means they can more efficiently process the people who do their weekly grocery shopping. I get it; it all works, but it's gone to the point of I don't even think it's just anything other than sheer laziness.
Yeah.
It's not cost cutting when you hire four people to just stand around to watch six kiosks. So we're not cutting employee costs. We're not
Mm.
employing labor. You could have one person watching those kiosks and three of them running checkout lines.
Yeah, it's it's just a scam. That's all
Yeah,
it is.
that's what this is. I mean, and think about it. Since grocery stores started being open later, you want to do your weekly grocery shopping. When is the best time if you're feeling up to it?
Well,
At
and
night,
yeah, and you don't get a discount for scanning your stuff. You spend twice the amount of time in line.
right?
Like,
Yeah. See, that'd be one thing. I think you should get a discount for self checkout,
yeah,
because after all, you're supposedly making their processes more efficient. You're
right.
supposedly helping them serve customers more efficiently so that their lines stay shorter. You're supposedly helping them cut labor. So why don't you get a piece of that action? I mean, we all have our rewards cards and we scan them to get our grand total of $1.31 off our orders. They can afford that. They can afford $5 as a thank you for doing it yourself.
Yeah, every time I have to, or I'm forced to do self-checkout at the end, I say,
Yeah.
"Where's the break room? I need to take a break."
Yeah.
And the person at the counter just looks at me like, "You're a dork."
I mean, I get it. They hear it 100 times a day. It's not their fault. I get all that. I get all that too. Uh, and at the same time, I've worked in service, I've worked in customer service, I worked in fast food for 5 years, and I wasn't always lucky enough to be the guy doing the work in the back. Sometimes I had to be on the customer service line. You can tell how introverted I am just based on that statement. And yeah, if some customer is frustrated with the process for ordering their food, I'm the guy that's got to take that. Now, if they decide to get abusive or unreasonable, then there should be a manager who's going to come and back me up. And fortunately, most of the time, the manager would.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I get
let's
that
talk.
I get that bifurcation. If you're on the front line, you are going to get some of that sarcasm from your customers. At the same time, as the person on the front line, you have, and if you have that type of job, you have the expectation that if a customer becomes abusive or unreasonable with you, that your manager will back you up.
Mhm.
That if you get a series of complaints that identify trends, your management will take it seriously and work on fixing that.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting that, you, as the employee, are invited to join us as the consumers in demanding that for you, because you deserve that. You're supposed to be representing your company's best interest. You deserve the tools and the backup you need to do that.
Well, let's talk about fast food because tipping has gotten
Oh
out
yeah.
of hand in the U.S., and it's become more of a scam than anything. because now they're asking for the tip before you eat, before they even deliver the service, and you're like,
Uh,
okay, this is bullshit. No, I'm not.
right.
I'm done with this crap. They always say, I need to ask you a little question. They turn around their iPad. You already know what they're going to ask you. Give me
Uh-huh.
a damn tip. I'm not giving you nothing because you didn't
Right.
do nothing. And then now they're getting pissed off because they're not getting the tips that they used to for doing the work that they didn't do anyways.
Right, right, right. And it feels like you're tipping the machine. And I haven't seen this in person, but I've seen videos of this posted in reels and such where people were shown these tablets and it actually says on the tablet, not tipping is not an option.
Mhm.
It's like, it is an option? Me canceling this order and walking out.
Yeah,
So then that's because then you don't get nothing.
no, and you know, I don't know. And I understood it during COVID. I really did, because people putting their lives on danger,
Oh yeah,
supposedly.
when I went to for carry out during COVID, I tipped very generously
Yeah,
for mediocre service because I recognize these are folks who this may be their only way of supporting themselves and their families, and their hours had probably been drastically cut due to lack of volume, and their
right,
business was already running on reduced hours anyway, so they even had less opportunities to pick up hours. Every penny counted.
right.
So as long as they gave me mediocre to okay service, they got a very generous tip for me.
Yeah, but these are services that, even like Subway or Burger Place or somewhere
Uh,
where there's no table service, there is no waitress,
right.
you're coming up, all they're doing is making the stuff which is in their normal pay.
Um,
Increase your prices if you have to, but don't say
right.
we're keeping our prices low. Tip now.
Well, here's part of the psychology that I think contributes to some of the outrage. I'll give you an example. This isn't typical of Subway, but I did have this experience where I went to a Subway maybe about 6 months ago. I don't go that often since they got rid of the sweet onion dressing and the honey oat bread. I mean, it's just not the same anymore.
Mhm.
But I decided, you know what, I'm going to try this. And just for a change of pace, I'm going to go get the veggie sub as close as possible the way I used to do it. So I go up and I order a veggie sub. And she goes and gets the bread and she says, what meat would you want? I said, it's a veggie sub. It's like, well, do you want chicken? It's a veggie sub. And then she said, what cheese do you want on it? No cheese. It's like, oh, okay, so we have provolone, no cheese. No meat, no cheese. It's a veggie sub. We haven't even gone to the vegetables yet. And I'm already ready to just walk out on this because I don't think she understands. And then I'll say things very clearly, like uh, just a tiny little bit of banana peppers. So those six you have in your hand, they're going to be good for the entire sandwich. Just spread them out. So she then stuck her hand in the pan of banana peppers, grabbed a whole handful, and said, "Oh, what more banana peppers?" I said, "What you had in your other hand was enough for the whole sandwich." Now, after all this, you're supposed to tip them. And you have to run the risk if you don't tip them that they're going to give you dirty looks or spit in your food. Okay, tip to ensure promptness or whatever else acronymically you want to assign to that. If I were behind that counter, I would want if I were working behind that counter assembling those sandwiches, I'd be paying like really close attention and I would also assess quickly whether the customer was somebody I could suggestively sell or upsell to, or like me, somebody who came in knowing exactly down to the number of olives, exactly what they wanted,
Mhm.
and their way of being satisfied was just to give them what they wanted and process them through. I would learn how to figure that out because I would want to earn those tips. I would want that one experience when they're getting hit up for tips left and right. I would want them giving me a tip to be the one that says, I hate this tipping culture, but this guy earned it.
Yeah. And I'm more than willing to give people tips if they earn it.
Yeah.
If they're actually going to physically get off their ass and help me. But
Uh-huh.
just to stand behind the counter and turn the thing around, and that's their only form of that's like you're not getting shit.
Yeah, as I said, if you want to earn more money, you may not be able to accomplish it within the next 24 hours, but I guarantee you there are jobs out there where you can earn tips.
Yeah.
I mean, a buddy of mine, I mean, he's like a six-figure a year engineer, and he sometimes works as a pizza delivery person a couple nights a week because they'll pay him 25 bucks an hour plus a free pie. Plus, he gets tips. I mean, he's making pretty good money, but sit on his ass or go out and hustle a few $100 plus get a free pie.
Yeah.
That's not a hard decision.
Well, and here's the thing is and this is what always gets me is okay, I'm if I do tip the machine, who's getting that tip? Is it the workers? Is it the management? You know,
Exactly.
and so, if I'm gonna give somebody a tip, I wanna make sure that that tip's going to the right person. You know?
If Rob's standing behind the counter and he's turning the thing around at me, and I know that all Rob seems to have done here is to take my money because I can see there's a kitchen behind there and there's other people actually preparing the food. So it's probably not Rob. Is Rob getting this tip? Is the guy looking at me holding this? Is he getting the tip? Or is this going into the manager's bonus?
Yeah, and sometimes they'll say, "Well, the tips are being averaged out to all the employees." Okay, well, I'm sorry, but some employees work
Averaged
a
out, what does
lot
that mean?
harder than others.
Averaged out, what does that mean? Does that mean that you give on average 20% to all the employees and the company takes 80% into its gross
Right.
revenues?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
so
is part of this even going to the bonus performance package for the general manager, or is this just going into the corporate coffers?
yeah,
Am I tipping the shareholders here? Is what I'm asking.
yeah, so it
Because
it
believe me, the shareholders don't need tips.
it it becomes a scam.
Yeah,
Really does. Now, I got an email this morning, and these are ones that I think are scams too. And it basically says, "Rob, I'm interested in learning more about your coaching business. Do you work with clients from a specific niche or all industries?" And I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, I can go in and explain to this person what I do, but let me backtrace the email and see where it comes from. And guess
uh-huh.
where it came from? A coaching business. So basically, all they're trying to do is secretly try to sell me on their services.
I get the machine gun approach. Who cares if you piss off a few people? You're just looking to hit the targets, and by
Yeah,
go hit the targets, and those ones. I get that approach, but for those of us on the receiving end of it, and and if it's a real short message, I can sometimes just chuckle and say, "Ha ha ha!" They're waving the machine gun around, and they're asking me if I've ever heard of podcasting. I get it. They don't have no idea who I am. They bought my name and email address and whatever from whatever. It's the way of the world. But the
mhm.
worst is when you get these direct messages that are about this long. And it's me. Would you like to hop on a Zoom to discuss synergies? It's like, would you like to be throat punched?
Yeah, it just, and I understand we live in a world where, businesses want to make money. I get it.
Yeah,
I do.
it's what we're here for. I don't do this for my health.
But, when your emails describe, this not legitimate,
Right.
it's it's disguised as a, you know, a- they want it. They're asking if you do this, but darn well they do it. And they just want to sell you on their shit. And
Uh huh.
I went to their website. And I'm like, okay, uh-huh. No blogs, no contact number.
Right.
And it was like not legitimate, nothing. It was,
Uh huh.
so to me, we live in this world where, okay, we need to trust but verify.
Right.
And, there are people like me and Adam that try to help businesses all day long not get scammed. We tell you what to look for. I mean, like I
Yeah.
said, I've written books about it. And Adam is very vocal on social, but people still fall for this shit. And,
Yeah.
and we need to take a stand. All entrepreneurs, I think, need to take a stand and say, look, I'm tired of the authentication crap. I'm
Yeah.
tired of the self checkout shit.
Uh
I'm
huh.
tired of tipping or these emails disguised as garbage.
Right. Right, or these podcast pitches we get day in and day out to tell the same dumb jokes like, "Hi, Rob. I was hoping to impress you with my wit, charm, and sense of humor, but alas, I have to send this email instead." And if I take all of these and put them together, you would think that podcast bookers, people who work for podcast booking agencies, have meetings all day long where all they do is sit around and talk about their favorite podcasts, and they all talk about the Business Creators Radio Show and eHeroes. You would swear if you put this together that was going on because of how often I hear that one. Or they say, I heard your episode with so and so, and I loved how you discussed blah 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 blah. It's like great job taking the title of the episode and turning it into a sentence fragment. You didn't listen to this shit. And then it goes on and on and on. It says, and then you get the me song about the guests without any consideration of would they actually be relevant for the show.
Well, you know,
And then they say so and so can speak on topics like A, B,
yeah,
C, D, and E. And my thought is, this is supposedly your client. You don't know what the hell they want to talk about. You
well,
don't know what aspect of their business
yeah,
they're trying to build. You don't know what they have to say that is going to get the best reception on my show. You couldn't take 30 seconds and figure that out. But the worst thing is you made me think.
right.
If you
I,
want to get a yes out of a podcast host, if you're asking them to interview your clients, the moment they have to start thinking about it is the moment you get a no.
and
You want to make that the easiest yes that host has said all day, and there's a real simple way to do it. Hi, my name is Suzanne. I represent Rob Anspach, author of the Go to Hell series. Rob is interested in being on your show. His topic is why scammers can go to hell, and it covers ABC. What is the process for getting Rob on your show? I look forward to hearing from you. Because that last phrase, what is the process for getting Rob on your show? Simple, to the point, I don't have to think about it. And
right.
based on the very clear information, I can make a decision. Is that a topic I want on my show? Whether it's core topic, change of pace topic, clickbait topic, engagement topic, whatever it is, I know exactly why Rob's going to be here. I can make a fast yes or no. And what is the process? Well, I can answer that in a sentence fragment. So I don't have to then go through one sheets and media kits and stuff like that are being foisted on me.
Right.
I mean, you yourself, you and I have slightly different ways that we induct guests onto our shows. Me, I have them fill out a simple application that is strategically designed to tell me everything I need to know about that guest, so I don't have to research them. So all this stuff about, you should check out their episode here, 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 and here. I'm not going to go listen to 5 episodes. In
Mhm.
fact, if you're telling me that your client wants to be a guest on my show and that they're this seasoned media personality, I'm going to assume they know how to do a podcast interview. They actually have to put work into screwing this up. So no, I'm not going to go listen to their episode to get a sense of their style.
Right. Well,
Because as a host, whatever the style is, I'll make it work.
right. And
Yeah.
here's the thing that drives me crazy is that you get these pitches and they tell you how brilliant their guest is. And then you go to search them on social, like LinkedIn, and they
Uh,
haven't posted anything in 2 years. And it's like, what?
I don't post to LinkedIn very often. I need to change that.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So
But they haven't posted
yeah,
anything
yeah.
anywhere.
So I want to throw that out there for anybody who's saying, "Oh my God, that's me." It's like, okay, up until now, it has been the case that you have not been posting much to
Well,
social, LinkedIn, or things like
here's the
that.
thing
But you
too,
can
is that
change that today.
right, and here's the thing is that if this person is very authoritative based on this email, then AI should have something listed about them. If you type in who is Rob Anspach, you are going to get a whole bunch of information on
Uh,
ChatGPT, on Perplexity, on Manus. It's consistent across the board. If I
right.
type these guests that someone's pitching at me into AI and I get nothing, guess what? Their chances of being on my podcast are less than zero.
Well, yeah, yeah, and and if you're working with a guest who there's not a lot out there on, you know, you know, I work with companies and entrepreneurs who launch their podcasts, And I even say one of the reasons to launch a podcast is a way of wedging into a niche you haven't played in up until now without having to launch a product or a service first. I mean, so there is that. So if you're pitching somebody who, if somebody uses any type of search engine, whether it's Google, whether it's Yahoo, whether it's an AI prompt, what have you, and they're either not going to get much or they're not going to get consistent information, just say in the approach that they're a rising star or they're now entering this exciting new arena. Because we all get a new champion, a new contender entering the ring. We all get that. We love that. We want to feature that person. So just say it.
And when I started this podcast in 2018, you were the initial person I reached out to be
Number one.
guest number one. And that helped. Having guests come on your podcast that have credibility, that have authority, that know people will get those initial first episodes out there, right? But we as hosts, want to know something about you. What makes you unique? I look through some of these descriptions that people send me
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, this is the same description you gave for somebody else, and you
right,
filled in the blank. Give me something unique about them. What is their
right,
superpower?
right.
Something I can work with.
Yeah, we have a client. Her name is Chris Mullen. She's the host of a show called Lawyers Tell All.
I think
The
Chris was on this show early on.
I know, I know. We may have introduced you. I can't remember, but anyway, her show has evolved, at least as of this our conversation, into having a couple different themes. One of which is the original theme of lawyers telling their stories about the realities of the practice of law, with a focus on the intake strategies and the emotional and mental side of it. Okay, that's part of it. It's also evolved to have another segment where you have companies and experts who provide services and solutions to attorneys talk about their services and solutions and their results working with attorneys to help them grow their practices. So, it's a really good show if you're an attorney because you're going to get both of those perspectives. You're going to get both of those sets of information.
Mhm.
But I'll give you an example is if a show like that gets a pitch where you can tell it was the same pitch that this booking agent sent somebody else, and they just looked at the and they just used their standard pitch and added the phrase comma and law firms. I happen to know that one of Chris's assistants will catch those and actually reply back to the person and say, um, we do need to know specifically about how the work they do has impacted lawyers and law firms. Adding the phrase and law firms to your standard pitch is not sufficient. So please, so if you can give us some detail here, so we don't waste your time, because your guest will get pointed questions about their work in the legal profession.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, Chris is awesome. I celebrate her every chance I get. But that show is very targeted. There is some exclusivity to it, uh, and it's for a reason because that content is top notch for that reason.
Well, there you have it, folks. And we did mention that I have a new book series called the
Yep.
Can Go to Hell series. It's debt collectors can go to hell, HOA boards can go to hell,
Oh
slumlords
yeah.
can go to hell, and the IRS can go to hell. And they're available on Amazon. But also, check out my other books, and you can get them at getrobsbooks.com.
Yep.
And Adam, how did they find you?
Well, first of all, they look for one of the prettiest kitties in the world, Princess Alessandra Francesca, who is saying meow right now. Well, actually, she's not. She's kind of turning sideways and giving me a look of judgment. I'm amazed she's letting me hold her. Normally, she doesn't like to be held. All right, so Alessandra, you see the audience? Say wave to Rob. There you go. All right, let's put you down. All right, so basically Bing the Yahoo out of the Googles. But if you want something specific, as I mentioned, the work that I do is in podcasting. So go to www.thereachsystem.com/resources. And it changes from time to time because I'm adding stuff, but that can answer a lot of great questions for you right there. One of the things, and this is actually to me the purpose of this episode is as podcasters, and when you, as a listener, become a podcast host yourself, you become the voice of your audience. I mentioned that Rob and I hear a lot of grumbling about the scams and the annoyances and the excesses that we spoke about. And he and I were chatting the other day, and we're commiserating about this. The two of us commiserating. We couldn't have this, can't have that. Two of them commiserating, and we decided, let's do an episode about it. So when you are the host of your show, you become the voice of your audience. So they may be feeling something. They may be trying to resolve something. They may be going through something. When you speak about that experience, when you've had it yourself, you become their voice. And if they are unable or unwilling for whatever reason to say it themselves, they can look at you and say, Rob, you're my guy. You get me. And they will stand up and walk beside you. And by doing so, you'll be helping them go through their journey of improvement and actualization without them having to say it out loud themselves. You become the voice, you become the clarion, you become the beacon. So I'm ready for this consumer revolt.
Yeah, and I kind of started this consumer revolt years ago with the whole
Yeah.
Rob versus series of
Uh-huh.
sarcastic adventures, and there was 8 books, but the can go to hell is all consumer advocacy as well,
Yep.
and we're going to be writing more of those, and it's just, for me, it's all about helping entrepreneurs understand the system, not just entrepreneurs, but everyone, because I'm getting so tired of bullies, you know, and and
Yeah.
and and I just feel like things could be easier. Why
Right.
should we have to deal with looking at our phone 200 times a day just to get a code that, oh my God, yes, it
I
protects
know.
you, but honestly, it doesn't need to be this complicated.
No, no, no. It's as I've been saying for years. It's like they're protecting us from accessing what we're paying for.
Mhm.
But yet, for every one of those stories, you hear a story about somebody who gets locked out of their own account because its own verification system doesn't work. But then that same company lets the hackers walk right in.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I've heard way too many Facebook horror stories, and these are some of these people are ones that are paying to have this check mark, and Facebook doesn't do anything. And it's
Right.
like, what'd you pay for all this money to have a check mark if you're still gonna get scammed?
Well, and I've heard stories about X, for example. Those who buy the check mark. Now, some of the arguments for buying the check mark, and this is a big one, is you can type more than 320 characters, so so you can actually get through your engagement there faster without having to count your characters when you're making a tweet or making a reply. The other thing that can be beneficial is if it's your own original post, you have an hour to go back and edit it, whereas without the check mark, you don't. But as far as engagement, I hear way too many stories about how people go both with and without the check mark, and they find out that they actually get better engagement without it. And then when they pay for the check mark, they get absolutely no service whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. And
I
you
mean,
can't change a
I mean,
picture, you can't do anything.
yeah. I mean, if if I'm paying for something, okay, and I also get the thing where you're going to get companies where their customer service stuff is typically extremely low level stuff, but there are only a few major nails they're going to stick out. I get the whole thing of if somebody wants the white glove experience, make them pay for it. Otherwise, they get the automated experience. I get that because some people can look at a platform and say, you know what, I don't think I'm ever going to really need customer service here, so I'm not going to pay for it. Fine, I don't get any. But
Mhm.
if I'm paying for it, I should get some. Like, I'm using it for free, then I'm the product. I'm
Mhm.
paying for it, I'm the customer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, everybody out there, if you have a scam, if you have a complaint, take action. You know,
Right.
uh, let me know, and I'll bring you on board. We'll talk about it. But in the meantime, if you want to start a podcast, you need help with that, contact Adam. Because honestly, having these podcasts, and like I said, this is episode 353. So I've been doing this for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I had another podcast, and I might start another one down the road.
Yeah.
Podcasts to me are one of the fastest ways to get your information out there, to talk to your audience, to let them know who you are, and why you can be trusted to them. And so, whether you do this video, whether you do it only audio, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Um, just do something. Start a podcast. Start a movement. Educate people, and you're going to see that it makes it a lot easier to sell. Makes it a lot easier to if you want to create a book, now you have a podcast behind it. If you want to, you know, build your business,
Yeah.
you got authority and credibility. So check out Adam at the Reach System. Find him on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn.
Not Twitter, LinkedIn.
Not
You ain't
Twitter.
gonna you ain't gonna you ain't gonna find me on X. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I don't even use it that much.
Yeah.
I can't. Not that I don't like Elon. I do. I just don't like Twitter. It was chaos before, and to me, it's not where my clients go anyway.
Well, yeah. You go where your clients go, and you also go into places that make the most sense to you. Just
Yeah,
because there's 19 platforms doesn't mean you're missing anything if you're only on 10 of them. In
yeah,
fact, you may be better off if you select your top 3 or 4 because that's where your people are, and it's also the medium and the forum that helps you communicate most effectively.
yeah. I'm on
I, I mean, I
Facebook,
mean, I mean,
LinkedIn,
I
and
mean,
YouTube.
people
That's it.
people will come to you if you're that good.
Yeah. So there you go, folks.
Yep.
We'll see you on the next episode.
All right.
Adios.